Welcome to Story Haven, where stories come alive. Here, we weave tales of mystery, adventure, and wonder, stories that will capture your heart and spark your imagination. Get comfortable, and let's begin.
The first time Abebi Ajayi heard the melody, it was barely a whisper. A few ghostly notes drifted through the empty Ojú Elegbè Concert Hall as she tuned her violin, so faint she almost thought she imagined them. But the second time, the music played louder. It was late evening, and she had stayed back to practice for the upcoming audition, the most important of her life. The prestigious Adeola Academy of Music only accepted the best, and she had fought too hard to let this chance slip away. As she played the final note of her piece, the air in the hall shifted. The grand chandeliers above flickered, and a cool wind passed over her skin, even though all the windows were shut. And then, a whisper. "You must finish it." Abebi whirled around, heart pounding. The theater was empty. Or so she thought. The Ojú Elegbè Concert Hall was old, so old that her grandmother used to tell stories about it. Once, it had been the heart of the city's musical world, but tragedy had struck a century ago when a brilliant composer, Oda Aiku, vanished in the middle of his final performance. The only thing left behind. His unfinished composition. No one had dared play it since. Those who tried never finished. Some claimed the notes changed on the page, others swore they heard voices whispering as they played. But one thing was certain, the music was cursed. Abebi never believed in such things. Until now. Later that night, as she roamed backstage, she found an old music stand in a forgotten corner. On it lay a sheet of yellowed paper, covered in delicate, fading notes. At the top of the page, written in elegant calligraphy, was the title. Oda Aiku, the Eternal Song. Her fingers tingled as she touched the page. The melody was strange, unlike anything she had ever seen. The notes felt alive, as though they were waiting. She hesitated, then raised her violin and played. The moment her bow touched the strings, the hall shifted. The air thickened, shadows stretched unnaturally, and the chandeliers overhead flickered as if caught in a silent storm. And then, she saw him. A figure in the balcony. A man in traditional agbada, watching her with sorrowful eyes. Oda Aiku. Abebi stumbled backward, her heart racing. The figure in the balcony did not move. "You hear it, don't you?" a voice whispered behind her. She spun around, no one was there. But the music remained, hanging in the air like breath on a cold morning. She had to know more. Digging through the archives of the Adeola Academy, she found old newspapers detailing the night Oda Aiku disappeared. Witnesses claimed that as he played the final movement of Oda Aiku, the air in the hall tore open like a cracked mirror, and he simply vanished. His body was never found. His song was never finished. And now, it was calling to her. Abebi knew she should walk away. She should play something safe for her audition. But the melody had sunk its claws into her. It followed her in her sleep, in her waking hours. She heard it in the rustling of leaves, in the hum of the city, in the quiet spaces between heartbeats. The song was unfinished. And it wanted to be completed. On the night of her audition, she stood on stage, her hands shaking as she placed Oda Aiku on the stand. The judges watched, expecting a standard recital. She took a deep breath. And played. The chandeliers flickered. A gust of wind swept through the hall. A tremor ran through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the building. She reached the part where the composition ended, the part where Oda Aiku had disappeared. The next note was unwritten. But she could hear it. It was whispered to her, carried on the wind, woven into the silence. She played it. The hall shattered. A rush of wind roared through the room, and suddenly, she was not alone on stage. Oda Aiku stood beside her. For the first time in a century, the lost composer's hands moved as if conducting the air itself. The invisible force of the music flowed through Abebi, guiding her bow across the strings, pulling her deeper into the melody. As the final note rang out, the hall grew silent. Aramu turned to her, his face full of gratitude. And then he faded, like mist dissolving in the morning sun. The curse was lifted. The song was whole. Abebi stood alone on the stage, breathless, the echoes of the final note still ringing in the air. She had finished the symphony. And in the silence that followed, the judges stood and applauded. Abebi won the audition. She became the youngest musician ever accepted into the Adeola Academy. But from that day forward, whenever she played Oda Aiku, she swore she could hear something beneath the melody. Not a ghost. Just a quiet, lingering thank you.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep the stories alive.